going on, everybody? It's your boy Danny the Bull back with a live stream. It's been a minute. Got a little busy with work, got a little busy with vacation, but I'm back. It's been a little over a month since my last stream, so you'll have to forgive me for some ring rust. I'll be shaking off some ring rust here, but things are looking good. We're heading into Q4 now, and it's been such a long cycle for many who have been in alts, right? Particularly if you've been in alts, and I think most of us have been in small alts, and we've been asking the question and wondering, will we get that alt season that we've been waiting for? The good news is we're going to get our answer in the next, couple months, in the next few weeks. But I do think that we're going to get what we came for and get some form of alt season. We'll see if it's selective. We'll see if it's, has the depth and breadth of 2021 alt season or if it's something different. But right now, all signs point to higher in all markets as the stock market and NASDAQ, Dow Jones continue to hit new all-time highs. Gold has been ripping, and Bitcoin did what was expected in September. All right, we got a little bit of rectember, but that was expected, right? And, if you follow seasonality, you know that what follows rectember is October. And day one of October didn't disappoint as Bitcoin made its reversal and, started heading, I think, faster than people expected. A little bit of a pullback today, and that's been across the board in all markets. S&P pulled back. Last I saw, it was 0.5% at around noon EST. S&P was down. NASDAQ was down. But the S&P was up for 8 straight trading days, right? Putting in new all-time highs. So we're getting closer to the end of the cycle, and it's something to consider. There's a school of thought, a train of thought that this cycle extends into 2026, right? And that's been popularized by Raoul Pal, and we'll talk a little bit about that, right? Do we, are we really positioned right now in the 2020 part of the cycle, and will we finish in 2026, and that's the 2021 part? Or is the end near? Because if we follow closely to the 4-year cycle, then the end could be in sight in the next couple of months. So it's something to consider, to think about, and to be open to different possibilities. But I am bullish for Q4. I think we're off to a good start, and we're hoping to see some good fireworks for these small caps sooner rather than later. But let's see who we got here. Dino Dragon in the house says, is it finally time? We will see. One thing about this cycle is there are more people here than ever before, right? Because you have people left over. So last cycle, it was like people left over from 2017 who stuck around. So it was a small group of people who had experience, right, in crypto. Everyone else was getting in for the first time. But now you've got people who have been in for 2 full cycles, right, or 1 cycle. But the point is you have more people who are more experienced, more people who look to front run altcoins, more people who know things about Bitcoin dominance, USDT dominance, and all of these things. And sometimes I think you build a smarter mouse and they build a smarter mousetrap, right? And it's even though people have been well-versed or are well-versed and know about, all these things like Bitcoin dominance, etc. It's been a tough cycle if you've been in small caps, right? There's no way around it. But that's not to say that there haven't been opportunities and there haven't been, pockets of time where alts have performed well, because they have, right? So there's been, I think, a little bit of a misconception that, alts have been totally beaten down. But if you look at it, if you look at big caps have done well, right? You're talking about Solana, you're talking about XRP, those top coins. Even Cardano is up, I think it was at 35 cents at the low. Not sure what it's at now, probably close to $1 or so. But those bigger caps have performed fine, right? Not new all-time highs yet. They haven't gone parabolic, but if you bought them at the lows, you've done well. Meme coins had a good run for months, right? Where meme coins were popping off. Some of them were hitting billions. You're talking about Fart Coin, Mog, a whole bunch of coins that had their run. And we had a nice altcoin season in, what was that, 2023 heading into 2024, right? Where like kind of like everything was running, gaming, AI, right? And that's where maybe some of us should have taken more profits back then. Since then, it's been hard for some of those small caps, right? You had AI agents running in, what was that, early 2025, right? So there've been pockets of alt seasons, but we haven't really had the full on all at once. So the point of all that is to say that there have been moments where alts have performed well, and now we're getting to a point seasonality wise, historically, where alts perform well. And the cycle thus far is undefeated, right? So I'm not betting against the cycle. My thesis has not changed. I do think that we will get some form of an alt season. And I think that if I'm picking when we top, I'm thinking it's Q4, but I'm leaving the door open to 2026. And we'll talk about how to play it, different strategies and plans, because I think now is definitely the time. If you haven't already made a plan, I'm sure you have, right? If you've been in this market, but always have a plan, because if you don't, the market will have a plan for you. So let's see who we got in the house before we start looking at Bitcoin and some other things and get into the small alts. Christian in the house. Thank you, brother. Plan to be back. B-Dubs, thanks for coming, brother. Vidran, greetings from Croatia. I think Mcade will have an alt season. I think Mcade is very well positioned. And let me pull it up. Give me a second. Mcade's kind of held up well, I think, relative to a lot of, especially gaming projects. It's held up really well compared to other gaming projects. It really, here we go, hasn't really lost this 1 cent range, right? So if you've bought Mcade, there were plenty of opportunities to buy down here. And over the last year, it's been a good time to buy, right? We've had moves up to 2 cents. We haven't been able to get above 2 cents since December 2024. I think if we get an alt season, I think Mcade is positioned to capitalize on it, because they have all the ingredients. They have a strong team that knows how to, get things done. They're in tune with the market. They're in tune with base and what's happening over there. They've been, working with Zora. They've been on every new initiative, right? In base, they're in it. So Russ has done a great job in that regard. They have a great network of ambassadors. They're connected to, YouTube channels now, and there are big accounts that hold, right? There are creators of big accounts that hold Mcade. And I think when alts start moving, it's positioned well. So yeah, still holding Mcade, still have a big bag of Mcade, actually added a little at these levels. And I do think that it's in line right now. It's just a matter of what kind of alt season do we get, right? I do think that we're going to get a nice one, but it's like in baseball, there's a saying, like, you got to play the games. You can predict, you can make whatever predictions you want, but at the end of the day, you have to play the games on the field. And so we'll have to let it play out, in other words. But Doodle Lover here, he's an Mcade holder. He's also an XMW holder, and as am I. And XMW is also a project that continues to build. They're doing buybacks. They are eliminating, from what I hear, their 5% buy and sell tax. So That's another small cap that is positioned to do well. So XMW is another one I added a bit over the last couple months. Joss in the house. What's going on, brother? Penguin, what's good? Devve, fastest chain, 10KS, and scalable instant settlement looks really promising. Yeah. And Devve is one that, I've been patient with because it's a conviction play. And I think that's important in order to navigate these markets. If you're holding, the rewards for a lot of these coins will come in a short period of time. All right. And so I'm going to get back to the chat in a bit. But the rewards come in a short period of time. And if you look at this is the total chart. All right. This is the total chart for total market cap of crypto. We are on the verge of a breakout to going into price discovery. We're at a little over $4 trillion market cap, 4.1, right? We were at, so this is about a little over the top, right? We're over a $4 trillion market cap, which is a great sign that it's holding above a $4 trillion market cap. It's bullish. And my thesis has been from a couple years ago that this cycle, we get to, $6 to $9 trillion market cap, right? That's this. I made this spreadsheet a couple years ago, and 2021 all-time total market cap was $3 trillion. I speculated this cycle $6 to $9 trillion. So if you do the math, if that happens, alts are going to run hard, right? And the total market cap right now is being driven up by Bitcoin and the big weights, Ethereum, the big caps, right? Hasn't really, the smaller caps are not moving yet, but those typically move last. But if you look at this is the others chart. So the others chart is everything outside of the top 10 or top 50, I think. Right. This is a more of a measurement of small caps, right? So when you look at the total market cap and you see that we are at all-time highs, basically, for total market cap of crypto, and you're thinking, well, why aren't my coins I'm not feeling that. I'm not seeing that in my portfolio. That's because others have yet to break out, right? We are still at a $300 billion market cap, still below October 2024. Right? Still well below last cycle peak of $430 billion market cap from 2021. So this is why we're not feeling it yet in our portfolios, even though the total market cap is, at all-time highs. But what's interesting to note is take a look at the parabolic moves up on the others chart, right? This is last cycle. So there was the initial move from May to July, and then the pullback, right? Then from August to October, right? So August 31st to October 31st, 2 months exactly. All right. So it was 8 weeks of up season. And that's when all those big gains were made. If you go back to this is 2024, right? September 2024. We were at a $210 billion market cap on others. October 31st, almost doubled, $362 billion. That is 4 weeks, right? So these big gains are happening in a short amount of time. So we're here, and what we're looking for is to get first above, here, right, the 362, and then above all-time highs of 431 to go into price discovery. And that could happen in a matter of, 6 to 8 weeks. All right, is when you're going to get the major move up. So you could be in the market for, a year, 2 years, and have the ups and downs of it. But if you need to be in it for those 2 months, right? And that's the key. So it's perspective, right? And when you look at total, again, this is the total chart. It made a big move. Remember, we bottomed in April, March of last year. So from March, 2.46 trillion to May 18th, that's 6 weeks, 6-week move up, right? Followed by a drop. And then from June 15th to August, we saw nice gains. And again, 4 weeks, right? So talking about short periods of time when you get the biggest gains. And if you're not there for those, those short periods of time, or if you're buying on the way up, that's how you become a bag holder, brother. But we will see. I'm confident that we're going to get a move up. The market's looking good. Bitcoin. Let's go back to Bitcoin. A dip today, but we're holding 122, which is key, right? We want to stay in this range and not lose the range, because then you risk going down further. So we'll see how the day closes out. But still holding at 122. ETH was at 4,700. Here we go. Nice recovery on ETH after dipping below 4K. All right, so this is a nice recovery, and dips are going to happen, right? Dips are going to happen, but we do want to get confirmation of a breakout. So we do want to see Bitcoin, blowing past this 125, because we did hit new all-time highs, but it was barely, right? And you want to really break through there and then get some, serious motion up. Because, if you look at it and, we talk about the cyclical nature of Bitcoin and crypto and how these cycles rhyme often to the day, one thing to consider is that, we're getting close to the end here in terms of historically for Bitcoin. And this is hard to, I ripped this off from Michael Pizzino, by the way. This is hard to, I can't zoom in on it. All right. So if you can do so, but what it shows is a breakdown of Bitcoin each cycle. And right now on October 6th, or today's the 7th, we are 1,051 days into this cycle from Bitcoin's bottom to where we are now. 1,051 days. Last cycle, it lasted 1,061 days. All right, Bitcoin was in an uptrend for 1,061 days. The cycle before that, Bitcoin was in an uptrend for 1,068 days. All right, so 1,068, 1,061, we're at 1,051 right now. So there are different schools of thought, right? And if, one scenario plays out where Bitcoin, matches up with the last two cycles, you could be seeing a top potentially in the next few weeks. You won't know it until afterwards, obviously, right? In hindsight, but we will see how it plays out. And some people say, this time is different because we're more correlated with the stock market. And I do believe that also, because if you look at, let's see, here it is. Let me switch screens. Let me remove this. I mean, here you go. This is Bitcoin and U.S. equities, right? The stock market. This is in purple is the S&P 500, and in white is Bitcoin, right? And if you look at, I can't really zoom in, but this is last cycle. Bitcoin topped October 2022, 2021. S&P topped December. All right, we came down, rounded out, and it's very similar. It's just that Bitcoin is a more volatile asset because it's a newer asset, right? And so the volatility is more extreme. So it was more extreme to the downside, more extreme to the upside. But here we rounded up, and even the dip here, right? The stock market and Bitcoin. But if you notice, Bitcoin is leading the stock market. Bitcoin peaked last cycle before the S&P, and we had a local top in December, post-election, right? Remember when the market dumped in January of this year? We had a local top before the S&P. It topped, it dropped afterwards. And then Bitcoin started moving up a little sooner. So a couple takeaways from that are, if the stock market is going to continue on and have legs, at some point there's going to have to be a decoupling from the 4-year cycle, and it's not going to match up with 1,061 days after, the bottom. Bitcoin's going to, top at some point, because we're so closely aligned with, more closely aligned with the equities market. There's going to be a shift, right? So one takeaway is that we are more correlated with the stock market than previously. The second takeaway is Bitcoin will likely top first, right? Bitcoin will likely top before the stock market. All right. So now, where does the stock market go? Where do markets go? Do we have legs into 2026? I think that there's definitely more room to go. Markets can extend, when you get into like bubble territory, which is really where we're going, and it's driven by AI this time. Every bubble is driven by something different. This time it's driven by AI. Markets can get irrational, right? They get irrational, especially at the top, and they can go on for a little longer than people expect. But we're in this rate cutting cycle, 94% possibility of a rate cut in October, right? So my thesis has been that we run in October, and then it's wait and see from there for Bitcoin, right? Could we top this month? It's quite possible, right? And maybe we run up into this rate cut, because again, there's going to be this, the second rate cut. It's going to be excitement in the market. Maybe they talk about a shift from tightening, and maybe not, into easing, but at least a step towards it, right? But it's something to think about and keep an eye on. You've got this coming up, all right? And then there are going to be calls, regardless if it's true or not. There are going to be calls of us going into 2026. And regardless if it's true or not, I think it's a good thing. Because in order for markets to keep going, people have to believe they're going to keep going, right? And so Raoul Pal has popularized this idea that this is a 5-year cycle now. It's not a 4-year cycle. And the reason for that is because it's not really based on the halving, but the Bitcoin cycle is based on the debt refinancing cycle. And because rates were higher for longer, that's been extended and pushed out. That's the school of thought. And so his thinking is, we go into 2026. And there are things that support that, right? And one of them is the ISM, right? Which is the business cycle. And what a correlation when you look at these charts, right? When you look at the ISM, which measures the business cycle, right, and above 50 is expansionary for the business cycle, right, and below 50 is like contracting. And this is ISM paired with Bitcoin. Look how it matches up. And ISM is just now inching towards 50. The last print that we had was here, and this was a bullish print. So for September, the previous month was 48.7. The forecast was 49, and it was a tick above 49.1. So we're getting closer to that magical number of 50 for ISM, which is then taking us into expansion. So, if we are in truth driven by the business cycle, And this isn't going to top out until 2026. Does that happen? Right? These are just thoughts, right? No one has the answers, right? The point is just be open to different lines of thought, because no one has the answer. But more importantly, my thinking is, the question is, when do you sell, right? When the numbers go up, that's when you sell. And that's the simplest. You have to simplify it because it's going to get overwhelming, because people are going to be talking about all these different ideas. And if you look at the chart, that's compelling, right? And so you're thinking it's 2025 and people are talking, this is going into 2026, and they have sound reasoning and they're smart and they have conviction, and it's scary because you don't want to miss out on gains. For me, I have to simplify it. When do I sell? It's when the numbers go up. And if I miss out on some, that's fine. Portion it out, sell at different levels. But otherwise, you run the risk of the other, this being right? And this says approximately 1,063 days, Bitcoin's going to top after its bottom. And what happens generally is altcoins top shortly thereafter. So last cycle, the second top for Bitcoin, the cycle top, what's considered the cycle top, was October, 30th. And if you look at, a lot of coins topped in the next month. And this is just a sample of last cycle, right? So like 26% of the top 100 topped right after within 30 days. And then some topped in Q1, like a handful, right? So not everything will top at the same time. And some things might have their own narratives that cause them to top later. And Devve might be one of those, right? We talk about Devve. Devve might be one of those because who knows when their announcement comes through. And maybe that's the top for Devve, right? And maybe they announce like a NASDAQ partnership and that comes in December. The rest of the thing, so different ways to think about it. Those are some of my thoughts. But how could you be bearish? And people were bearish in September. Big accounts, Ansem said the cycle was over. Dr. Profit, not the one from Vivi, right? The other Dr. Profit, which is one of the biggest accounts. And he's been on the right side of a lot of calls, has been speaking with very high conviction that the top is in. I don't know how anyone could be speaking with 100% conviction that a top is in when historically seasonality calls for, look at this, a 90% hit rate in the last 10 years for Bitcoin returns, regardless of bull or bear market. October has been the most bullish month for Bitcoin, regardless of bull or bear. Biggest gains are made in October. 2017, 50% almost. 2021, 27% up. 2022, 6% up in the bear, right? So in this asset class that has been so, consistent in terms of its cyclical nature, how could you be bearish in October post-halving? Doesn't make sense, right? And so September was tough, but it was expected because, again, look at the red. And seasonality isn't just in crypto. It exists in the stock market also. Summer months are kind of slow. September is is not the best performing for the stock market either, right? But the setup is there. Timing wise, we're there in October. It's October. Structural wise, Bitcoin's still in its uptrend and now bouncing right below its all-time high. If you look at the top 10 or the big caps, look at Ethereum. It's not far off from its all-time high. The big caps have done well. And so it's a matter of the small caps following through and doing their part. And we're going to see, time will tell, But let's see what we got. If the shutdown continues for another month, I don't think it will continue for that long. What's the longest shutdown, I wonder, been? I think the market's going to do what the market does. So far, it's shrugged it off. You know, we'll see. But I would expect them to figure it out because, what are they doing? They work for us. Figure it out. Block on sale. So I've cut my losses on Block, which is a disappointment. And the reason is, I mean, the chart doesn't look good. Maybe maybe Block isn't. I don't know what's going on there. Like, whenever I hear them talk, it's like we've got connections and we're going to launch like top tier projects. But aside from the talk, there's a lot of talk in crypto, right? And at first I shrugged off the Bnkr, partnership, the Bnkr Launchpad for World Liberty. But maybe that did have more of an impact. And maybe, World Liberty has not come out and endorsed Block. So we'll see. Hindsight will tell if it's a buy and it's on discount. But I cut my losses and I put it into like Bnkr. I got more DRB. I really like Bnkr a lot. And the chart has been strong. Oh, I got to look at CoinGecko for Bnkr. Because here we go. I mean, the Bnkr chart is strong. It was listed on Coinbase. They're backed by Coinbase Ventures. They consistently deploy, and it's, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in crypto. And that's the thing with Block. Like, is it smoke and mirrors? I don't know. And so there's enough risk in this game at this point where if I get a sense that something might be smoke and mirrors, then, I'll cut my losses. And I took an L on that one. And it is what it is. But, Bnkr is not smoke and mirrors. Bnkr is AI tech that is reducing friction in crypto, and you can see it and you can use it. And I have used it, and they are generating revenue and they're doing things. And when I just got access to the new base wallet, right? And because it's still not out yet for everybody, but I got an invite code. And the first app I saw in there was Bnkr. So $50 million market cap. I've added more with some of that. And I've also added Debt Relief Bot, which I'm also a big fan of. And Debt Relief Bot is a meme coin that was created by a Bnkr with Grok. So two AI agents coming together to launch a meme coin, I think, is a narrative for this cycle. And so I added a lot of DRB down here. I hate this. Let me move to here because I need my dark mode. DRB, but I don't know if DRB is on CoinMarketCap. Yeah, but I bought a bunch more down here of DRB, and I think it's got a good narrative. So that's a sub 10 million, $9.5 million market cap, all-time high of $20 million market cap. So it's sold off. It's coming back. Clean chart. I think it's, by crypto standards, right? For these high risk assets, it's down 50% from its all-time high, but it's showing strong buy pressure down here. So I am liking DRB. House of Crypto did a stream this morning and predicted a 20 to 50. Oh, I missed that. I got to check that out. Wonder if it moved the price. Let's pull up Mcade again. I saw Mcade has been up about 10% or so over the last 24 hours. Yeah. So a 20x on Mcade would put it at a $400 million market cap. Yes, I think that that's doable. I do think that's doable. So let's see what you say his numbers are 20 to 50x. A 50x would get it to $1 billion market cap. I think in order for that to happen, you need a 2021 style run, right? For me, when people say, like, what do you think something's going to get to? I have no idea now because I don't, it's a matter of what kind of alt season we get, right? If we get a balls to the wall 2021 type of alt run, yeah, I can see Mcade getting to $1 billion market cap, right? Because a lot of, comparable, projects got there last cycle. And I think that it's positioned. But what kind of alt season are we going to get? So it's good to think in different possibilities, right? We'll see. But it's good that Mcade has, House of Crypto. They have that other guy, I forget his name, Rubicon or something, around the Rubicon. He's got like $200,000, 200,000 followers. They have some big accounts that are holding, which is good because when people come back, that matters, right? Attention matters. Hope launch of Devve public shard can showcase and validate their tech quickly, combined with partnership announcement coming soon, makes for at least 50x plus explosion coming into the new year. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if you look at Devve. Listen, this has been the expectation, right? This is why I've been holding Devve. And I have to say, it's been frustrating. It's easy to be frustrated because it's been, they announced the announcement in January, right? In January, Austin was talking about they've got this partnership that's really big. And so we've been waiting since January. That part has been a little tiresome, right? But, Devve has held this 40-cent range for months. So, and if you look at bottom, this is November 16th of 24. It was 28 cents. 2 months. Again, you see the pattern. 8 weeks later, it was $1.68. Right? So 28 cents to $1.68 off of speculation of the announcement. So that is about an 8x off of speculation of the announcement. It did an 8x in 2 months. Now, if the partner is NASDAQ, which I think it is, but I haven't married the idea just because I don't want to set myself up for disappointment. But, when I think, what's his name? Tom, I forget his name. Tim, the founder, talks about it. I mean, he once described it as like the largest, like the biggest, the company with the biggest technology and exchanges or something like that. So I don't know who else it could be but NASDAQ. But we'll see, man. And they say it's Q4 is coming. They're waiting for the license to come in before they can make the joint announcement, right? Which was important. It will be a joint announcement. Could happen fast. Big gains happen in a short amount of time. And so if it's one thing I've learned, it's that you have to take your profits, right? At least you got to take something off the table. There's nothing wrong with it. And hopefully we get that opportunity to take a lot of profits. Cash Games, what's good, brother? I've noticed BNB is going crazy right now. Shitcoins doing 10 to 100 million in a day. I haven't been playing in that, man. I see you guys in Ron's Telegram playing with those things. But I did buy Aster, which I think is going to do well. I think Aster is kind of setting up, is kind of causing this resurgence in BNB. And this is their Perps Dex. This is the Perps Dex exchange that was just launched kind of as, I guess, competition to Hyperliquid, which went to, I think Hype went to, let's pull it up because it's good to have comparisons. Hype went to an all-time high. It's been a big winner this cycle. This is a good narrative. It's at 15 billion. It did about, what's 20% more? About $20 billion market cap almost. Yeah, about 20 billion for Hype. So if Aster can replicate that, and it's got CZ behind it, right? And CZ hasn't been this dedicated to a project since BNB, and he can't have anything to do with Binance now by law, right? So he's an advisor over here, and he's been pushing it. I bought a bag at $1.60 on this dip down here last week, $1.60. And CZ said he thinks it's going to 20 to 50 bucks. We'll see, but I can see it doing well. I think it's going to do well if they do what they say, right? And if it's if they're legit and they're executing and all that, I think it's going to do well because CZ is such a big player in this game, right? I do think that there is like this upper echelon of like this cabal that kind of runs this whole space, and he's one of them. So I like Aster. Frank, brother, what's going on? Waiting. We are waiting. But let's take a look. Bitcoin's battling this 122 level. So let's hope that it gets above it and closes above 122. Josh is talking another language. They're conversing in their language. Yes, I answered this. Not a fan of Block anymore. What do you think about Mcade Max? Could it be a good investment? I'm just not a fan of creator coins. So I'm not really playing in that sandbox. I'm also not very much like in tune in what's going on over there in Zora. But for me, the idea of creator coins, it's kind of a lot, right? Because like all these coins and everything becomes a coin. So that part is what loses me about creator coins. It's just like, if we think that there are too many crypto coins, now you're throwing in creator coins. If I'm betting on Mcade, I'm just betting on Mcade. And I'm not saying that Mcade Max can't do well. I'm just not trying to go further down the risk curve when the space is already risky enough. That's my opinion and what I'm doing. Block was a scam. I did a deep dive, and the people behind it are a cabal that have done multiple scams in the past. I think Matthew Morgan was bamboozled as well. And I did see that the people who are involved with, and I think Meet Kevin even made a video about this on the Alt 5 stock, which is kind of connected to Block, and how people there have been involved in some other things, right? So unfortunate. I lost some money there, but what are you gonna do? My thinking was that, the CEO of Block was it was named like the World Liberty Fi CEO, the creator of Block, and so something like this. So I thought they had like these close ties to World Liberty, and it's going to be a proxy play on World Liberty, right? And from a smaller market cap, but it's all good. Do you think privacy or robotics will have a run? So I don't think robotics yet, but there will come a time, I think, for robotics. I just think that it's like AI first. Um, Privacy, I think, could. You're seeing Zcash. Look at this Zcash run up. All right, so um, this is a privacy play. I'm not exactly sure what prompted. I've just seen it. Let's see Monero. Yeah, Monero's had a nice run up over the last month. This is over the last year. Monero's done well, but I don't think it'll be like all privacy. Might be a little more selective within privacy, right? Like really solid stuff. So, yeah, it does. They do look like they're doing well. I don't have price predictions, man, just because, like I said, it's too hard to tell what kind of market we're going to get. What kind of alt season are we going to get? Will it be a 2021 style? You know, if we got a 2021 style alt season, you know, I mean, what's a 10x? So a 10x from here for Devve is about $5, a $500 million market cap. In a 2021 style alt run, you know, I would think that it could go into billions depending on timing and depending on the announcement and all that stuff and how well they deploy. You know, if it ticks the boxes and they hit at the right time, if we get a huge run, you know, my thesis has been that it could go into the billions. But I can't say like I'm predicting that because you know, we'll see what kind of alt run we get. I think Medicaid Max is worth the risk, a very low market cap. There will be Medicaid Max Mcade pool where the rewards will be Mcade token. If the APR will be high, then people will follow into it. Yeah. The thing about it is also Mcade has a good community, which is important and necessary for something like Medicaid Max to work. I'm just now looking to go further down the risk curve for me. But I'm still bullish on Devve. Still bullish on Mcade. Still, you know, two of my biggest bags. Super bullish on Bnkr and DRB. And, you know, there have been some things that I've kind of trimmed and dialed back on just to consolidate into more high conviction plays. And some things that I've held almost full bags of, you know, and I've held all my Rio, which is still holding up at $26 million market cap. No, 26 cents. 47. I'm not sure if that's I don't think that's a correct market cap. I think it's really a $26 million market cap. But I still expect RWA to do well. The stable coin narrative, I think, will be big, right? And we'll see some stable stuff, you know, some companies involved in stables do well. What do you think of Super Champs? I'm not sure what Super Champs is. This is a small cap, huh? 4 million. Beaten down over the last month, up 35%. An animated metaverse featuring the world's premier super athletes. So if gaming has a run, I don't know much about it, but I do think that gaming can still do well. I'm just reading through this. Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of gaming projects back when they were running, and I had good gains on them, right? Naka, I was holding Naka, I was holding Playable Games, I was holding GameSwift. Now the only gaming token I hold is Mcade, right? Because I just consolidate, and that's been the one to hold for me because I'm still up on that, believe it or not. Because I mean, the market's been down, but from when I bought Mcade, which was kind of at the bottoms, I bought Mcade. Mostly all of my buying has been at 0.005 to here. So it's one that I'm still up on. And but if you love the games and you've researched them and gaming does well and has a comeback, then could do well. And there are reasons to suggest that gaming can do well, right? Because a lot of people hold gaming plays, right? Because it was one of the big narratives early in the cycle. We'll see how it plays out. Yeah, brother, I still Rio. And they've announced some good things over the last couple of weeks. So they've been building. I think they've got some new app to fractionalize real estate or something like this that I saw. And they have some more properties, I think, because they like buy up properties. But I still have my Rio token. I did cut ties with my AI tech. That's one that I held that I sold a while back, just because I'm more bullish on Bnkr. And one I've bought is Giza, which is beaten down at the moment. But this is a stable coin play. This is on base also. Super active Devve who has a good following, and he's a good leader. Market cap's at about 23 million. This is an AI agent that gets the highest, that searches for the highest yield on stables, right? So they have, I forget what the number is, millions under investment or deployed in there, and they're just looking and constantly generating the highest yield for people. So it's revenue generating, real utility. A little beaten down now, but what's not beaten down? So I've added Giza, kind of ticks the stables and the AI narrative. But thanks for joining me for an hour. I will be back again soon-ish, and looking forward to Q4. We'll see what happens. Watching Bitcoin closely, watching the whole market closely, but fireworks could be around the corner, right? Market history suggests that fireworks for altcoins are around the corner. So we waited this long for our small caps, and the payoff could be here sooner rather than later. So I'll be around to cover it, to talk about it, and discuss things with you guys. Appreciate you coming through. Like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.